throws, swings.
There it is! There it is! Get out! Get out! All right!
Hit number 4192.
Swing on and miss. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game.
And a high fly ball, center field. He hit it a ton. It's gone. And the 2010 Central Division Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds. And Homer Bailey has pitched a no-hitter.
You're listening to the Redlegs Radio Report with Jason and Todd on Bowling Green's home of the Reds, ESPN Radio.
Jason Harbison back with you on the Redlegs Radio Report, ESPN 102.7 FM. 1450 AM, of course, Bowling Green, Kentucky. You can hear us throughout the Red season on Saturdays, 9 to 10 a.m. That's Central Time. And today our guest has been on our show many, many years, since its early inception, going back almost 10 years now. He's the senior beat writer for The Athletic, covering the Reds. He's also covered the Reds previously for the Cincinnati Enquirer, the Cincinnati Post, CBSSports.com, and Clear Channel. And he's the head of the Cincinnati Baseball Writers Association of America. Please welcome back to the show, C. Trent Rosecrans. C. Trent, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Actually, I don't know that I'm the chairman of the Cincinnati chapter of the Baseball Writers Association, but I am president of the national.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't really matter. I just want to be factually accurate. But I don't know who our chapter chairman is right now. You would think the president of the national would know that, but I don't know these things. I'm not. You can tell how on top of things I am right now.
Well, I'm going to fire my administrative assistant for getting that fact wrong. So
yet again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know.
They've been fired many, many times.
The whole hiring process and bringing them back, especially this time of year, it's just crazy. So you know what it's like.
I do.
So really, sir, it's been a weird offseason, to say the least, and really a weird season for the Reds in 2020, moving forward into 2021. There's been lots of rumors. I of course believe everything that I read on the internet, as I'm sure you do too. But
as you should.
Sonny Gray, Suarez, Castillo, and recently I even heard Moustakas' names were all kind of out there, perhaps on the trading block. And now, is this to be expected, in your opinion, C. Trent, with the Reds and just really trying to deal with losing all that revenue in 2020?
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of doing that. I mean, you saw the Cubs. I think there was something yesterday in the Cubs and Yu Darvish. And I think it's always smart to listen. You know, remember last year? Wasn't it just last year that they were going to trade Luis Castillo to the Astros? Remember that?
Yeah.
You know, and like – just because you're listening was it in 2008 they were stupid if they don't trade Johnny Cueto, Jay Bruce, and Joey Votto for who was it with the A's? Joe Blanton. You know, these things get talked about, and that's not to say that one of these things won't happen and that they can't happen, but a lot of things get talked about, and I think there might be some deals. The Raisel Iglesias deal was pretty surprising, and it showed that maybe it kind of further tightening of the belt, or getting that, as Nick Kroll put it, reallocation of funds, that there is some of that going on, and there most definitely is. But, you know, things will be talked about, and we'll see what actually does happen. And to freak out over rumors is to want to be freaked out.
Very true. Very true. You mentioned Joe Blanton. I'm going to somewhat put the brakes on this, but not really of this part of the interview. He's actually from around this area down here in Bowling Green. He I think he went to Edmonson County High School, if I'm not correct, or maybe Franklin. But around this area, and the Hot Rods have had like bobblehead night for Blanton, and
nice.
Got some local ties to him. So you bring that name up on this show, you're gonna definitely.
There you go. No, yeah, but like I just remember that was a trade that just had to happen, you know, and that it's a mistake to hold on to your prospects, and that was the thinking 12 years ago, and now it's a mistake to hold on to existing players and not get prospects, or maybe we're somewhere in the middle now. I don't know. But, there will be thoughts, and just because someone is a name doesn't mean they're untouchable, or I don't know. Like, I tend to shy from hot takes either way. Like, I can talk myself into seeing and understanding a lot of different things, and no move is made without a reason, and whatever that is, and not every move is all good or all bad, and we shall see what happens. And I don't think the team's not done being what they will or won't be on opening day, and nor is anybody else in this division. The whole division is kind of going this way. It's super interesting to me to see how it's not just the Reds, but we're seeing that with the Cardinals. We're seeing that with the Cubs. We're seeing that with a lot of teams. This past week I talked with Kyle Schwarber, a guy who's still a valuable player who was non-tendered, much like some of the things the Reds did, that the Cubs did. And for so many years, you talked about the Cubs and the Cardinals not even needing to think about payroll, that they were these economic giants, and they are feeling the crush as well.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question then, Trent. How do you see the landscape changing of Major League Baseball coming out of 2020, going into 2021? Of course, you've got the looming collective bargaining agreement that's expiring a year from now, I believe at the beginning of December 2021. And I think that's kind of in the back of teams' minds, as well as just all of the money that was not made this past 2020. I mean, how do you think, I guess, kind of a 30,000-foot Trent view of what we can expect from baseball?
Oh, what can we expect? I don't know. Like, I cross my fingers that there's a 2021 season and that there's a 2022 season. I mean, that's probably being overly pessimistic, but it's still a concern. It is really still a concern. I don't know. I would be surprised if we start, I saw something as we record this today. We're recording this on, what is today? Tuesday? Yeah. As we record this on Tuesday, it's 100 days until opening day. And it's like, well, no, it's 100 days until the scheduled opening day. I will be really surprised if opening day is the day it's scheduled. I really will be. I'll be really surprised if spring training starts when it's scheduled to start. Now, the reasons I think that they might be pulled back and pushed back are ultimately positive ones. We're seeing vaccines rolled out. We're seeing good things happening. And ultimately, I think those dates might get pushed back because it will and could allow fans in the stands and a return towards some semblance of normalcy. So I think that's ultimately good, but I'm also wary of, making non-refundable flights or hotel plans or anything like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you say at the time of this recording, because I fully expect the Redlegs Radio Report jinx to happen. Like, while we're recording this, there'll be a big trade that happens. There'll be something that goes down, and then all of this will be null and void, or your phone will start ringing off the hook because you got a call from maybe a Nick. Okay, so far so good.
My phone's right here.
Okay. So if you need to interrupt the interview, let us know.
No, yeah. I think it's good right now.
Okay, that's good.
As far as I see.
That's good. Good to know. So really, and you've reported on your Twitter as well that the Reds are taking a card maybe on Ryan Stanek, a pitcher from the Marlins. Is there anyone else that you could see possibly the Reds going for? Again, I know the landscape has just been turned upside down as far as money and trying to save money this year.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't bring in some sort of shortstop option, whether it's a Marcus Semien or Andrelton Simmons or Didi Gregorius, that type of short-term type of free agent shortstop. And I think the Raisel Iglesias move, part of that was freeing up, and that was the reallocation of funds to sign someone like that. Now, I don't know that it will be anytime soon, and it may be, let's wait and see where the market is and what happens. I think a lot of it might wait until something happens with Francisco Lindor, because I do believe he will get traded. I don't think he will get traded to Cincinnati. In the end, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me for the Reds to spend that money and that prospect capital both if they've already done these other things, that if they're building towards a more sustainable model, to go all in again, what they did this year, for a Lindor for 1 year, and then spend a bunch of money and prospect capital, which it's going to take both with Lindor. And so I don't see Lindor as a realistic possibility this year.
I really think in the coming weeks it'll be really interesting to see kind of which way that the Reds go kind of on that front. We're talking with Trent Rosecrans, of course, the beat reporter for The Athletic for the Reds, a regular to the Redlegs Radio Report. Now, Trent, I noticed that you're wearing your hat, which is the Rocket City Trash Pandas. Mm-hmm. And some of our listeners may get tired of me asking this, because during a lot of these Zoom interviews, I've been asking the same question. But I think it bears repeating, and I think it's something, and I don't want to say that it's kind of been swept under the rug in the past week or not, but I think somewhat quietly the landscape of minor league baseball kind of changed, it drastically changed. And you look at the nearly 45 teams contracted or either not being, I think of like the Billings Mustangs, even though they're still minor league baseball, they're not really affiliated with the Reds anymore. And you've got some teams in basically Reds territory, the Lexington Legends, for instance, the West Virginia Power, that are no longer affiliated with minor league baseball, contracting down to 119 teams. I just kind of wanted your take on what happened in the past week and a half here, I guess, just as for baseball as a whole.
Yeah, it is interesting. And like, again, I see all sides to it, because, you've seen a lot of baseball there. You saw it at the South Atlantic League, and you see low A baseball. And when you go to a low A baseball game and you go to a major league game, you see a ground ball is so much different between those two levels. And it's so much different even between a low A game and a double A game. To see the difference between a ball hit on the ground in the infield and how easily it is turned into an out. It is a big part of that process of turning players into big league players. But you also have so many players. There are a lot of players who aren't going to get the chance to do this. But there are also a lot of players who aren't going to be, who are almost going to get the Band-Aid ripped off of their dreams earlier, which is bad in many ways. It's also kind of good in many ways. There's a lot of people there who are like, you talk about in college football that are, they call them like, either they're like walk-ons, they're the practice tackling dummies, that's what they're there for. A lot of those pitchers are there just so that their arms are thrown to throw batting practice, even though they're in games. And there's never a thought of, you hear the term org guys, that they're there for the organization to help, develop other people. There are going to be fewer of those, and it's a cruel thing, but it's part of the development. And so I understand that part of it. And I also understand that, there are other ways to do this. Those wood bat leagues that a lot of people are poo-pooing. My best friend lives in Savannah, and Savannah had a South Atlantic team, the Savannah Sand Gnats. And I would go to those games all the time. We'd go on Thursdays when we were down there, and you'd get the Thirsty Thursdays. You'd get 2 beers and for the price of 1, and we would go a lot of Thursdays. And then actually, it's funny, the first season of the Ali G show on HBO with Sacha Baron Cohen and Borat goes to a minor league game. I was at that minor league game. And there's a picture that I have of me and my best friend talking to Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat before Borat was known in the United States, and us talking to him. And we talked to him, and I could tell that he wasn't from Kazakhstan, and there was something up, but I didn't know what was going on. And funnily enough, like a couple months later, I was covering a game in Alabama when he went as another character covering an Alabama football game. So I was in two of those, that first or second season of the Ali G show. I was there for, which is just odd. But anyway, side tangent. But the point is, now there weren't a lot of people at those games. And I mean, you go on the road and there were some bad facilities. You talk to the players of the Hot Rods, or they were Hot Rods. They were in South Atlantic or Midwest. Which
they start both. They started out in South Atlantic. They've been in the Midwest for about the past 6 or 7 years. So yeah,
right. And so when they're in the South Atlantic League, I know you talk to them and like they're probably like, man, our stadium's one of the best. Our setup's one of the best. And they would go these other places. And I know I talked to the Reds, and like when the people in Billings in the Pioneer League, they're like, man, our place is nice, but some of the other places we go, woo, or Greenville in the Appalachian League. It's like, this place is nice, but you go, X, Y, or Z, that place, that's sketchy, and there's nobody there. Well, the Savannah, they got a really smart owner that took after the Sannats left and they took the franchise, picked them up, and went to, I think, Columbia, South Carolina. And they became one of those college wood bat leagues. They're the Savannah Bananas now. And they've marketed, and that is an event. And there are more people at those games and those kind of things than there were when they were the Savannah Sandnats, the Texas Rangers, or the Mets affiliate. And, I think there is something there that a lot of the minor league attendance and a lot of the minor league excitement and a lot of that is up to the individual operators. And they can make it an event and make it what it is. So it does stink for that affiliation. And a lot of that is like, oh, maybe I will see the next Mookie Betts. Maybe I will see the next Wander Franco. Maybe I will see the next guy. And you guys have been lucky in Bowling Green to see a lot of the next guys. I remember seeing that team, the Hot Rods, up in Dayton a couple years ago. And a scout just saying, that's one of the best teams I've ever seen at this level, because they just stacked guys upon guys. And scout speak, guy is a term. Guy is like a badge of honor. If you say a player is a guy, that means he can be a real player. And usually at that league, you don't have many guys, and they had guys. So that's a long-winded answer to say, I don't know that there are. I understand some of the reasons why they're doing it. And you saw the Astros contract. That's why the Reds had a team in Greenville, Tennessee, in an Appalachian League. They expanded. Well, you saw the Astros contract teams. Everybody's following what the Astros were doing. Now, the Astros are known for maybe not doing things most ethically or humanely, and a lot of things are done efficiently for efficiency's sake. And is that the best? But a lot of teams just were like, well, we don't want to afford to try to be like the Yankees, who can have 250 minor leaguers. A lot of this is saying, hey, we only want to pay for this amount of minor leaguers, and it's really, really rich people being cheap. That's usually how really, really rich people get rich, is by not spending money. I would be richer if I didn't spend money. I wouldn't be rich, but I would have more money if I didn't spend it. But, I don't know. So it sucks. I get it. It sucks. That's my bottom line. So that was a lot of words to say. It sucks. I get it, but it sucks.
No, that's great though. You mentioned the Savannah Bananas, and I do follow them on social media, and that they're kind of like the example of what you can do with that. And even just a name change, branding, marketing, you're right. They sell out every game. They're selling merchandise to people in Alaska and Maine. And really, you could look down the road from the Reds there, the Florence Freedom, which are also an independent minor league team, changed their name to the Florence Yalls this past year.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually
not wearing it.
I mean,
now.
I love their whole thing. They've got their mascot even looks like the water tower there. And they have just rebranded themselves, and they were actually one of the only shows in town that you could go see baseball this past summer with the pandemic going on, social distance or whatever, and made the best of, I don't want to say a bad situation, but they were flat getting it done.
And Lexington did that as well. I mean, the Lexington Legends did that, and they kind of got a head start on their future. I think they knew they weren't going to be one of the 120. And, because again, I've been to that facility, and the facilities, the ones that are going to accept this deal, and again, this isn't all final, but the ones that were going to accept that deal, they're the places like Chattanooga and Daytona, the Reds affiliates that have given invitations to accept those and to get these 10-year contracts and to have this and to meet those expectations. They're going to need some facility upgrades, and they're going to have to spend some money. So it's going to be different, but there are some good things for the players and for the organizations. It's going to be tougher for the operators of the minor league franchises, honestly. And that's, again, hey, it's what we see in America. The largest corporations have the leverage, and they're leveraging out the little guys, and it sucks, but that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, that to put it nicely in a nutshell, that's exactly what we're seeing happening. And I hate that it's under the guise of, a lot of this is under the guise of like COVID and not being able to have a season. Of course, I think a lot of that stuff kind of got swept under the rug, and it's like, oh, well, a lot of this was going to happen anyway. And oh, by the way, there's a pandemic going on. We couldn't have a season of 2020 as well.
Well, it made it easier, honestly. And it made it kind of a foresight, and it made it, I think some of these teams were going to go out of business anyway, because they didn't have this season, and it made it just easier, and it ripped the Band-Aid. Like I had a story planned out for April. I was going to go, like a 2 or 3 day span. I had it planned out. Again, best laid plans, 2020. I was going to go to Chattanooga, where it could have been like the last opening day in Chattanooga for, in 100 years or so, because they were one of the initial teams, and then go to their relatively new stadium. I guess it opened in like 98. I remember going to Engel Stadium, the stadium before, but Coca-Cola Field downtown, or AT&T, I don't remember which entity it's named after now, but it's downtown, and it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. But it opened around 2000, I think. But now that's 20 years old, which seems ancient. And it was fine 20 years ago, but now it's outdated. So I was going to go there for what could have been like the last one in Chattanooga for the foreseeable future. And then a couple days later to go to the Rocket City Trash Pandas, where they were opening this new palace, and their opening day after they had lost a team, because the Huntsville Stars were there forever. And then they were without a team because their stadium, Joe Davis Stadium, was terrible and a dump, and they lost. And then without it, they then decided, after a couple of years without minor league baseball, they said they had to come. So I wanted to see kind of like that in between years and what it was like to get it back. And this was maybe a sound like Chattanooga, like similar to Huntsville, that what did they miss without minor league baseball, and where was it going, and how happy were they to have it back, and blah, 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 and kind of that compare contrast type thing. But yeah, that's moot in Chattanooga now, because they may or may not, they will probably have baseball again. But anyway, that was a nice story idea that just never played out.
Well, hopefully you get to do that in 2021 if there is a baseball season for minor league baseball, or at least maybe an abbreviated version of it. Who knows? I mean, that also is still up in the air.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we just don't know. And I mean, the other part of that is we're going to feel the effects of 2020 for many years down the road, because you talk about all these players that missed a year of development, and that is so huge in baseball. And you're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who did not play competitive baseball and get those 400, 500 at bats in. And those are so crucial to becoming a big leaguer and playing at the big league level, that they didn't get those when they were 20, 21. And we're going to feel the reverberation of this for many, many years down the road. Not just in the financials of the baseball, the major league side, the minor league side, but also on the talent side. It's going to be something that we feel for a long, long time, and it's going to have adverse effects for a generation, honestly.
Yeah, very much so. We're talking with Trent Rosecrans, of course, the beat writer for The Athletic, following the Reds around for so many years that he has been doing now. Trent, we're so thankful that you basically let us into your house on this Zoom meeting here. And I always like to call, I don't want a bunch of people stopping by your house, obviously, but I always like to call out your surroundings. And I love what's going on here. It's either Georgia, of course, it's very heavily Georgia, and I'm sure you could go down any road with that.
Yeah, I guess there's some.
Yeah.
There's
wearing
Saga right there.
Yeah,
there's
you.
The shirt. There's the diploma. Oh, and there's another Uga. So yeah, there's that.
And you got some Star Wars stuff behind you. So really, I guess we could end this interview either talking about Georgia versus UC. Oh, you even got the original Death Star back there. Look at that.
Yeah, that one's a real special one to me because it's not mine. Most of the vintage stuff behind me was mine as a kid. This was one of my best friends, Jay, was a big we're college friends, and he passed away several years ago, and his wife was cleaning out a bunch of his stuff. He had hoarded a bunch of his stuff from a kid as well, and I'd always wanted the Death Star, and I helped her clean some of the stuff out, and so it's his. And so that's a real special piece for me because that's Jay's, and so it's but anyway.
Well, and it looks like it's in good shape because I can speak firsthand.
Pretty good shape.
I had that as a kid and had the little cardboard slide things and the little elevator that goes up and down, and those always broke.
Yeah, I had to buy another cardboard piece, and I bought a couple struts separate, but I do have the Dianaga, so the original Dianaga that was Jay's. So it's
very
cool.
Nice. Yeah, and you've also got the Darth Vader collector. We're turning the Redlegs Radio Report into like some geek talk here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, there's some super geeky stuff out here. But yeah.
Very, very nice. Yes, loving it all. And I don't want to give too many spoilers on The Mandalorian, but I did see that you were tweeting out that how much you love that.
Yeah, we won't talk much about it, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely say that is something you need to check out. We don't want to give any spoiler alerts here on the show, but great stuff. Yep. Well, Trent, thanks so much for joining us today, and I appreciate it. I hopefully we can get somewhat back to normal here and get you back on the radio and get some baseball going, get some fans in the stands, and all the things that go along with normalcy.
Yeah, hopefully. Hope all is well with you and all your listeners, and have a great holiday with whoever's around, and be safe and be smart. So thanks again for having me, and your continued friendship, and sorry to miss you at Reds Fest this year. It's always a highlight seeing my friends from Bowling Green, and it's been weird, but it's also been nice to catch up in different ways, and it's always good to see you guys and talk with you, and I appreciate it, and can't wait to see you at the ballpark again.
Yeah, we appreciate it ever so much, sir. Thanks so much for the kind words, and definitely the sentiment is equal. All things on Reds Fest, and getting to see you in the press box. One of the highlights of us getting to go up there.